NCLEX. Practice questions and tips. Can you answer this question? 1. The nurse is caring for a client scheduled for removal of the pituitary gland. The nurse should be particularly alert for A. Nasal congestion, B. Abdominal tenderness, C. Muscle tetany, D. Oliguria. Answer is A. Tips. Anatomy of the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is a small piece of tissue of dual origin pharynx for the adenohypophysis and brain for the neurohypophysis attached to the brain by a stalk. The pituitary gland hangs downward from the brain and dwells in a small cavity known as the sella. The shape of the cavity containing the pituitary gland mimics a Turkish horse saddle sella turcica. The gland is located at the center of the head at the juncture between the cranial cavity and nasal cavity. Embryonically, it is formed partly from the brain tissue itself posterior lobe and partly the throat tissue anterior lobe. Once they are joined together during the developmental stage in a fetus, it forms the pituitary gland as a whole. The cherry-shaped pituitary gland is attached by a pituitary stalk to the base of the brain, the hypothalamus. The posterior lobe, also known as the neurohypophysis, is directly connected to the hypothalamus by the pituitary stalk. Just above the pituitary gland lie the continuous visual nerve cables such as the right and left optic nerves, the optic chiasm which are the conjoined crossing cables, and the optic tracts which are the visual nerve cables conducting visual impulses to the brain. Just above the visual system is the hypothalamus, which is the vital brain tissue controlling homeostasis, maintenance of equilibrium-like conditions such as temperature and other parts of the autonomic nervous system, appetite, etc. and instincts of the human body. Details of pituitary gland function. The hypothalamus produces hormones such as vasopressin ADH and oxytocin. Vasopressin or antidiuretic hormone ADH generally controls water balance, depending on the degree of blood concentration osmolality, by acting primarily on the kidneys. Oxytocin functions by stimulating womb muscle contraction during the delivery of a baby and in releasing milk from the breasts of a nursing mother. These hormones are transported from the hypothalamus of the brain to the posterior lobe neurohypophysis of the pituitary gland via the pituitary stalk. The anterior lobe adenohypophysis produces many different hormones under the influence of numerous other stimulating hormones that are transported via the arterial bloodstream. The releasing hormones produced by the hypothalamus travel via an arterial bloodstream to the anterior lobe. These releasing hormones stimulate the production and release of hormones in the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Hormones produced in other parts of the body can also influence the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland via the bloodstream. The pituitary gland is the center of hormonal control of the entire body. The adenohypophysis produces many hormones such as adenocorticotrophic hormone ACTH, thyroid-stimulating hormone TSH, growth hormone GH, luteinizing hormone LH, follicle-stimulating hormone FSH, and prolactin PRL. Production of ACTH is controlled directly by hypothalamic production of corticotrophin-releasing hormone CRH. ACTH stimulates the adrenal gland, which is located just above the kidney, to produce corticosteroid hormones, which are vital hormones for maintaining physical integrity and coping with physical stress. ACTH is counterbalanced by the production of corticosteroid hormones' negative feedback. Complete stoppage of ACTH production is fatal, causing so-called Addisonian crisis if medical treatments with replacement steroids are not instituted immediately. Addisonian crisis is a condition of shock related to the lack of corticosteroids in the body. TSH is produced by the stimulation of a hypothalamic hormone named thyrotropin-releasing hormone TRH. TSH stimulates the thyroid gland in the neck to produce thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormones generally have a role in maintaining metabolic homeostasis and have a counterbalance effect to the production of TSH in the pituitary gland. Negative feedback. LH and FSH controls production of female sex hormones such as estrogen and progesterone, as well as the production of testosterone. These sex hormones generally function to produce sexual characteristics in the reproductive cycle, and also have counterbalance effects to the pituitary gland. Negative feedback. Prolactin is a hormone acting in milk production. Prolactin secretion is high in a woman during lactation for a newborn baby. Overproduction of prolactin can result in aberrant milk production even in males and significantly decrease libido. Dopamine produced in the brain is the natural negative regulator of prolactin production, and therefore dopaminergic agonists such as bromocriptine are used as medical treatments for overproduction of prolactin. Although other hormones are produced in the pituitary gland, the aforementioned pituitary hormones are the important ones for the maintenance of body integrity. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. More nursing tips.